Okay, should we do Console Wars? This is the new streaming documentary based on the book Console Wars by Blake Harris. It's on the CBS streaming service. Harris also came on as the producer, writer, and director of this. It's a documentary mainly focusing on Tom Kalinsche's role in the Sega versus Nintendo fight of the 90s. It was originally planned to be a film by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg as producers, but somehow became a CBS streaming production, which is quite the downgrade, I would say. If you've seen a lot of gaming documentaries, you probably will feel like you have seen all of this before. It's your typical sort of Netflixy style documentary. If you watch a lot of documentaries like I do, this stuff really sticks out as being of a significantly lower quality than your sort of typical documentary. What you've got in Console Wars is luckily no narration, so it's not marred by that kind of stupid voice that Netflix put into their high score series. Luckily, Console Wars is narrated by the talking head mercenary marketers who took part in this sort of war in the 90s. And that's exactly what you'll take away from it. I don't feel like I didn't get the gist that these people were in it to have anything to do with gaming or because they were passionate about gaming whatsoever, really. These people very much come across the way they are, which should be a credit to the documentary, I would say. They're marketing people. These people they're mercenaries. They're brought in, they travel from company to company. Sometimes companies that are having a hard time will bring in people like Tom Kalinske as a hired gun. An expensive guy to sort of shake things up, and that's exactly what he did with the Sega deal. Nintendo was struggling, and the documentary does sort of skip over the Master System completely, and time is sort of compressed, which I've heard is not the case in the book. The book, of course, gives you all the juicy details of this stuff. And it's extremely well received from the people that I've talked to about it. But the documentary, of course, compresses time. And so that 2-year period when Genesis was out and the Super Nintendo wasn't, you don't really get the feeling that that time period existed in here. You can tell that that time period existed in the documentary if you pay attention. But if you don't know about it, it looks almost as if the Genesis and the Super Nintendo were out consecutively. But if you're a big Tom Kalinske fan, I know he has his fans. There's a lot of Tom Kalinske footage in this, and so his story going from Mattel and the other companies he worked for was moderately interested if you're interested in marketing. And the other marketers, some of them have interesting stories, some of them just seem like horrible people. And one of the stories that I really liked was Ellen Buskirk, who was the Sega of America Director of Communications. She's talking about when they were taking the Genesis around to malls in the United States to show it off, and she sometimes had to don the Sonic the Hedgehog costume and do the dance and meet with kids and things, and she's talking about how the little kids, when she would meet them, wanted to come up and give her hugs and be all lovey with her, but then she would go and meet up with the teenage boys, and they all wanted to kind of push her around and give her high fives and fist pumps and things. I thought that was pretty funny. So there's a lot of interesting stories in here for sure. And that's the good. Now let's talk about the other side of it, which is that this is another one of these gaming documentaries that's held together by really strange animations that pop up about every 30 seconds to a minute. Anytime that someone has an idea, anytime that a scene, there's a transition, you'll have these animations that have to portray that in kind of a stupid comic book 8-bit or 16-bit form. And I think that's really unnecessary. You don't see that out there in the world of documentary. And to me, it speaks to sort of a disrespect to their audience, or maybe they just, this is what they think their audience wants. But to me, it's kind of a sign of the documentary has sort of no attention span. It's almost the documentary equivalent of shaky cam that's taken over movies nowadays because of our attention spans. The animations are just sort of, they pull me out of it, and I would rather just see more of whoever's talking. I'm not bored by their face, or they could take a Ken Burns approach and show historical footage. Classic Gaming Quarterly approach. Just show that historical documentation during those transitions instead of this stupid pixel art, which I love. I'm a big pixel art fan, as you guys know, but yeah, this stuff just doesn't do it for me. And Console Wars, and I think they're following in the footsteps of High Score by including that. And now, just to get a little pedantic, here's a problem that you are going to notice that normal people might not notice, but every single clip of game footage in the entire documentary for any console has vertical scanlines applied. This is bizarre because, as you know, scanlines are horizontal, unless you're talking a vertical arcade game. But this scanline filter is applied to every single game, and they've applied it in post, not within whatever emulators they're using. And they're definitely using emulators, which is not a big issue for me. I mean, if I was making a documentary like this, I might tend to use emulator footage as well, just because it's cheap and easy to get. Although I don't see why you wouldn't just outsource something like that to someone who knows what they're doing, like My Life in Gaming, Digital Foundry, someone like that. But the problem with applying it in post is that then when they zoom or scroll, the scan lines don't stay in sync with the pixels of the game. And in some of the zooming sequences, it's just hilarious to watch the scan lines fall apart. And to say that vertical scan lines are distracting is an understatement. I mean, these just really stick out as we have no idea what video games actually look like on a television, but we know they have some lines. So yeah, vertical scan lines. And to make it even worse, in a few scenes, there seems to be an HQ2X or Eagle type filter behind the vertical scan lines. Mario has never looked this bad before. I don't know, I definitely would recommend watching it, even if it sounds like I'm being a little negative here. There is a lot of entertainment in it. A lot of great stories, lots of stuff of historical value in here. So yeah, you can go check that out on the CBS streaming service. And let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. I'm going to be doing more of these video game documentary reviews just because I've seen a lot of them and I figure I might as well give my 2 cents on it. And there's not a lot of reviews of this kind of stuff out there. And I hope you enjoyed. And remember that I have the SmokeMonster Elite Patreon Discord where any Patreon supporters of any level get an automatic invite and you can come hang out in the Discord. You also get early access to videos like this and other perks. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you guys soon.